as of Thursday, July 3rd, we're still waiting to see exactly if this bill will be passed in the House, the big spending bill that Republicans forced through the House and also narrowly got out of the Senate just a day ago. It's now back in the House with the Senate version on the table. The holdouts that were there apparently haven't held out long enough because they've all jumped on board. The reasons why, by the way, this bill still hasn't passed just yet or even hasn't had a chance to vote on it is because Hakeem Jeffries. Hakeem Jeffries was doing this.
Republicans were so proud of this one big ugly bill. Why did debate begin at 3:28 a.m. in the morning? Republicans are once again, which has been the case, Mr. Speaker, through every step of this journey, tried to jam this bill through the House of Representatives under cover of darkness. But I'm here today to make it clear that I'm going to take my time and ensure that the American people fully understand how damaging this bill will be to their quality of life. And as a result of the lack of health care that will result directly from this one big ugly bill, people in America will die. Unnecessary deaths.
So Hakeem Jeffries taking now, I think we've reached to 6 hours. At the time that I first saw that it had been 4 hours he was speaking. Apparently, they have this 1 minute rule where they get to speak unlimited amounts of time, and they take that 1 minute for as long as possible. So he's hit the 6 hour mark to delay it, and he's delaying it, and he knows that eventually it'll get voted on and most likely get passed, and then all the destruction will then take place. But Hakeem Jeffries, as you know, I made fun of him a little bit yesterday talking about the baseball bat picture. The baseball bat picture that he had up where someone was a little bit higher than him, so he looked even short. And he was standing with his baseball bat saying he's going to fight. This is the fight. So listen, man, I still don't like much of what Hakeem Jeffries and his establishment approach to everything else he's talking about, he's doing, but he's trying something. I do want to say one other part about this because Steve Scalise, one of the leadership within the Republicans in the House, just under Mike Johnson, he didn't like so much that this speech was happening either, though. So he decided to rail on him a little bit and talk about how ridiculous it is.
The American people are watching this. They know the theatrics and the lies, and they're sick and tired of the lies. They want hope and optimism. That's what Donald Trump ran on, is to say there is a better America. You don't have to have 4 years of malaise under Joe Biden where inflation's high, gas prices are high. You can't even fill up your grocery cart. Crime's out of control. Illegals are running rampant, millions a year. We finally are fixing those problems, and this bill really delivers on the rest of those promises to get this country back on track, to bring hope back to people who want to control their own destiny. Democrats will stand in the way. That's why they're a party of the past. That's why they're a party of failure and socialism. Americans have rejected that.
We've seen the details of the bill. That's the thing. We've seen the details of the bill. We've seen the effects of the bill. But there's just this bulldozing over those actual facts behind it and saying, listen, we're bringing back prosperity to the country. And despite the fact that everyone has seen from the scores from the CBO to the way that we've pointed out how we're giving money away to the richest of the country, it's actually doing great for the rest of the country. I did want to point this out. Representative Brendan Boyle, he came forward during the discussions about this bill when it was being formed, and he exposed a lot of what it is that these Republicans are doing. But there's one other aspect here that he did point out as they built their way to this. Yesterday, we saw how hard it was to get this bill out of the Senate. And now as they're back in the House, there were so many that said some that were against it, and they're now all on board. So Representative Brendan Boyle points out what is that makes that happen. And I guess you have to take his word for it, but we'll see what he has to say.
When you talk privately, Congressman, you got a bunch of friends on the Hill who are Republicans, presumably. When you speak to them privately, they know what this bill is going to do to the deficit. They know what it's going to do to rural hospitals in some of their states or urban hospital, what kind of district they represent. They tell you behind the scenes about how they get to yes on that.
You know, it is amazing. I really wish that what some Republicans say in private could become public, because it's always, you know, in whispered, hushed tones. I don't agree with Donald Trump. I don't think this is good legislation. I'm concerned about deficit and debt. But then they always look around and say, shh, don't tell anyone that I said that. The reality is So many of my Republican colleagues are deathly afraid of Donald Trump. Just yesterday, or I'm losing track of what day it is now, but maybe about 36 hours ago, there was a markup in the Rules Committee, and you had a couple of self-described fiscal hawks on the Republican side vote against this legislation because of its massive increase in the deficit and debt. Well, now here they are about to vote for the bill, even though not one word of the bill has changed. They call it the Freedom Caucus, the HFC. Really, I think it stands for the House Folding Caucus.
I think what we can pretty much believe, because we've seen them say it themselves, these folks that are voting for this are afraid of Donald Trump. They're afraid of the revenge tour that he'd have on them. They're afraid of the retaliation and the primary calls and the things that he says he would do to them. So they get on board because they're weak. It's just the way these things work. So I saw some people responding to what Representative Boyle was saying there and said, yeah, sure, you're going to believe this guy? And you wouldn't believe him because it's not convenient for your point of view. And I get that would work vice versa. But like I've been keep saying, this administration and these folks that are doing this, they've been lying since the beginning. What's the purpose of believing someone who's a completely an adjudicated liar? Like it's been proven over and over again. They're liars. They're lying to us directly. They're talking about the details of this bill in opposite terms of what it actually does. They talked about the people at the town halls who protested and pushed back and asked questions angrily at them as some paid agitators with absolutely no evidence of it. They constantly lie. What is it about this party, this MAGA party, that would make you believe anything they have to say? Everything they've said is a lie. Everything. But again, you don't even have to listen to Representative Boyle because Zinke, what's this guy's name? Ryan Zinke. Listen to this glowing endorsement that he had for the bill. Again, this is a Republican.
It probably has too much salt, not enough pepper. There's some small gambling issues in it that can be corrected, but I don't think that this is the vehicle to correct it. Overall, there's no poison pills in it. If you're a fiscal hawk on one side, you're probably not satisfied. If you're moderate on the other side, you're not satisfied. Right. So overall, I think this is the best we can do at the moment.
So you vote for a bill, this huge bill that has been exposed for how bad it is, and your answer is it's the best we can do at the moment. I mean, I'm not saying it's great. It probably has too much salt, not enough pepper. It kind of sucks. I mean, we rushed it across because the president keeps telling us to rush it across. None of us really like it, but we're all afraid of him. So it's the best that we can do because the whole purpose is to shove it through. I remember Republicans used to talk about shoving bills through and not reading all of the pages, and then how the American people don't know what's in it. They even had calls for legislation to make sure that things are read to a certain degree, which I wouldn't be against. Why can't you read what's in the bill? But it has been read, it's been analyzed, and it's been shown for what it is. And that's why he's even talking about how there's too much salt and not enough pepper. They're admitting it themselves, this bill sucks, but they kind of have to do it. I'm just pointing that out.